The taste of tension. I didn't even feel the cut at first. Just a tiny tear across my forearm as I pushed open the jammed utility hatch on Deck 7. The edges were frayed, worn from cycles of neglect and half-assed maintenance. One slip, one scrape, and a line of crimson threaded its way down my skin. "Damn thing," I muttered, wiping the blood with the sleeve of my uniform. Behind me, soft footsteps echoed, lighter than any human's. I turned, and there she stood, Cyan, the youngest of the Jirani diplomatic envoy. Cyan rarely spoke during our joint patrols. She wore the traditional veil-like robes of her people, thin silver fabrics that shimmered faintly in the cruiser's filtered light. Her skin was a pale amethyst hue, almost translucent. But what always drew me in, were her eyes, violet, luminous, wide with some unreadable emotion. Her gaze was locked on my arm. Before I could speak, she stepped forward. "Too close." "Cyan," I said, cautious. "It's just a scratch." Her eyes flicked up to meet mine, then dropped back to the blood. 1 second passed. 2. Then she moved. Fast, but not threatening. Graceful, fluid, instinctual. She knelt before me and, without asking, gripped my wrist with both hands. "Hey, what are you?" I started, but froze. Her tongue cool, textured like silk, and something wild dragged slowly across the gash. My breath hitched. Not from pain. From the shock. From the sensation. From the intensity. She looked up at me, mouth slightly parted, the faintest shimmer of my blood on her lips. Her bioluminescent throat markings lit up like a reaction, like her body didn't ask for permission. And then, "Step away," a voice bellowed. A pulse rifle charged behind me. I spun as 2 Jirani guards rushed down the corridor, weapons drawn, expressions horrified. Cyan dropped my arm and backed away, face contorted with panic. One guard barked something in Jirani, words I couldn't translate, but I recognized the tone: betrayal. "Wait." I stepped forward, but a heavy hand shoved me back. "You defile her," the older guard shouted in heavily accented English. "You bloodbound her." "Bloodbound?" I echoed, heart pounding. "What are you talking about?" Cyan said nothing. She bolted down the corridor, faster than I'd seen her move before. A high-ranking officer, Commander Velka Thuan, stormed onto the scene moments later, his angular face carved in fury. His robes were darker, denoting rank, and his cybernetic spine implant blinked with red indicators. "Lieutenant Ryker," he hissed, voice dripping contempt. "Human liaison, medic, and now predator." I squared my stance. "You're way off." I got scratched. She reacted. I didn't do anything. She performed the initiation rite, Velka snapped. "In public. On a human. That act is sacred." My brain spun. All she did was lick the wound. I didn't ask her to. You may not have asked, but she offered. And that is worse. The guards flanked him, their rifles no longer aimed, but their eyes still accused. "What does it mean?" I asked, quiet but firm. Velka stepped forward, lowering his voice. "It is the first gesture of a Jirani life bond. A merging of essence. Spirit and memory. She has marked you." I swallowed hard. That wasn't what it looked like. Intent is irrelevant. The ritual is complete. "And now," he added, "you are her claim or her shame." The corridor buzzed with silence. Velka turned sharply. "You will report to diplomatic quarters for questioning. Now." Hours later, I sat alone in the debrief room. The lights were dim, the air recycled and stale. A holopanel in front of me scrolled through Jirani legal precedents, all blinking red: violation. Bond initiated. Human contact unapproved. My head throbbed. I tapped my comm. "Jace to command. Can I get access to non-restricted Jirani medical customs?" A pause. Then, "Request acknowledged." Sending files. The documents loaded fast. Scans of skin-to-skin rituals. Blood sharing as a conduit for emotional resonance. Licking a wound, not an act of comfort, but an invitation. A biologically anchored instinct to heal, bond, and claim. No wonder they lost their minds. And Cyane, what was going through her head? Was it just reaction? Instinct? Or was it something more? Hours later, I lay in my bunk, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling panel. A message chimed. Encrypted file. Sender, Cyane. Subject, I'm sorry. Message, meet me. Arboretum Deck 3. After 0 hour. No guards. No lies. I read it twice. Then again. That corridor. Her face. Her touch. Something in her eyes hadn't just been instinct. It had been choice. I clenched my fist. 0 hour wasn't far off. And I wasn't going to let this story end with shame and silence. Instinct versus intellect. The arboretum was bathed in artificial moonlight, pale and cold, with violet-leafed trees arching into a biodome of quiet. The hum of life support was the only sound. It was the only place on the cruiser that didn't smell like coolant or steel. She was already there. Cyane stood near the glowing pond, robes discarded for a fitted lavender tunic. Her bare arms shimmered under the biolight, revealing thin silver veins running along her skin, pulsing softly, like starlight beneath the surface. I stopped a few paces back. Didn't think you'd actually message me. She turned slowly. Her eyes, those luminous violet eyes, met mine with something closer to sorrow than shame. I wasn't sure I would, she said quietly. Why did you? I asked. A pause. Because I needed to explain what you don't understand. And because I needed to see if you hated me. I blinked. What? Why would I? I touched you without consent. I disgraced myself. My kind doesn't do that. She looked away. Not in public. Not with humans. I walked closer but not too close. The wrong move might mean the end of my career, or hers. You didn't attack me, Cyane. You helped. That scratch barely bled after. You healed it. Her voice tightened. That wasn't healing. That was instinct. I lost control. I let biology override the rules. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. But it did, I said. Her head snapped toward me. Don't say that. I took a breath. Why not? Because if it meant something, I can't go back to who I was before. Not here. Not with them. I studied her face. No translation error, no misunderstanding. She was speaking raw truth. You're saying it meant something to you too. She didn't answer. But her silence screamed louder than words. I crossed the last few steps. Not touching. Not reaching. Just standing close enough that she could smell the iron hint of my blood, now dried. She looked at my arm again. They'll strip my station, she whispered. Velka already submitted an isolation petition. I stiffened. Isolation? That's exile, isn't it? She nodded slowly. For contaminating a bloodline before bonding protocol is declared. My family will be shamed. Because of me. Because I didn't resist you, she corrected. That's how they'll twist it. I exhaled through my nose. Then tell the truth. Tell them I didn't ask for it. That you acted alone. Her shoulders sagged. Even if I do, it won't matter. You're still human. That cut deeper than any insult. Not because she meant it to hurt, but because she was right. We're a young species, I admitted. To them, we're reckless. Loud. Emotional. And yet, she murmured, stepping just a little closer, you're the only one who looked at me without fear. Silence held between us. Not awkward. Not tense. Just real. I broke it. Why did you do it, Cyane? Was it only instinct? Or was it something else? Her hands trembled at her sides. She looked down, struggling for words that wouldn't betray her. In our culture, licking blood initiates more than healing, she said. It's a trigger. A key. It unlocks what's hidden. Like emotions. I guessed. She nodded. And memories. Trauma. The first touch binds us to feel what the other carries. I stared. You felt me? Yes. Her voice cracked on the word. I saw the crater. The fallen men. The pain behind your laugh. You carry so much and pretend it weighs nothing. I swallowed hard. You saw the war. I felt it, she whispered. And I wasn't ready. That's why I ran. She finally looked up again. But I also saw you stand over your friend with your hands shaking, still trying to save him. Corbin, I said softly. He called for you with his last breath, she said. And you stayed. The silence returned, heavier now. Shared. Understood. I stepped back and sat on the stone ledge by the pond, elbows on knees. I didn't ask for this connection, Cyan. But I don't want to throw it away either. She sat beside me, not touching, but close. I've never bonded with anyone, she admitted. Jirani are taught to delay instinct. We marry for logic, not feelings. Humans do both, I said. Doesn't always work, but we try. She tilted her head. What if we're not allowed to try? Then we make them understand. Her eyes narrowed, skeptical. You think the Concord Tribunal will listen to a bond formed by a medic and a diplomat's daughter? No, I said honestly. But they'll listen to you. You're not just anyone, Cyan. You're the one who dared. Her throat markings flickered with faint light, confusion, maybe awe. I want to learn what this is, I continued. Not because I'm forced to. Because I choose to. You're not afraid of being marked. I smiled slightly. I already am. We sat quietly after that, watching the artificial moonlight ripple on the surface of the pond. Then her comm chirped. One message. She glanced at it and froze. Her breath left her in a single, sharp exhale. What is it? I asked. Velka petitioned to remove you from liaison duty, she said. You're being recalled tomorrow. I stood. That's not his call. No, she said. But it's been co-signed by the Concord ambassador. Why? Because they believe you influenced me. That you triggered the bonding to gain leverage. That's a lie. I know. I paced the edge of the pond, furious. He wants to sabotage the alliance. She stood too. Then we can't let him. Her fingers brushed mine, not a full touch, just enough to say, I'm still here. I nodded. Then let's make this bond mean something real. Her eyes brightened. Not just glowing this time, shining. We start with truth, she said. And end with peace, I finished. Beneath the skin. They confined me to Deck 9, diplomatic holding quarters. Clean, windowless, quiet. Too quiet. The guards didn't speak. The walls didn't echo. The silence pressed down like guilt. I paced. Again. The charges hadn't been formally read yet, but the subtext was clear, emotional coercion. Unauthorized interspecies bonding. Diplomatic overreach. They were framing me for something I never intended, and Cyan would carry the weight of it too. A chime. The door unsealed. She walked in. No guards. No warnings. Just Cyan, shoulders tense, lips pressed into a thin line. You're not supposed to be here, I said. She shut the door behind her. They didn't see me. You'll get caught. I already have, she replied. I stood still as she crossed the room. No veil. No hesitation. I saw the tribunal schedule, she said. Velka submitted evidence, altered comm logs, edited footage. He claims you manipulated me into the ritual. His falsifying records. I asked. She nodded. He's afraid of what we represent. What do we represent, Cyan? She hesitated. A bond outside control. A choice made without permission. That terrifies them. Then let's terrify them together. She took a breath. I want to show you something. She raised her right hand, glowing slightly at the fingertips. This is not a healing touch. It's a memory share. Only used between life-bonded pairs. And you're sure? I asked. Her eyes met mine. I'm certain. I want you to see me the way I saw you. I stepped forward and offered my hand. Her fingers met mine, and the room disappeared. We stood in a void, surrounded by pale starlight. Not real, not solid, just memory space. And suddenly, I was her. I felt the echo of drills during childhood, metal bars and instructors barking orders. The pressure of constant testing. A society that prized discipline over desire, form over feeling. Then, the moment. That corridor. My blood. The taste of it on her tongue. From her view, I was glowing. Not physically, but emotionally alive with grief, duty, pain, hope. I saw myself as she had, fractured but still standing. Still offering trust in a world full of closed doors. We snapped back into the holding cell like a wire had broken. I staggered. She steadied me. You saw it, she whispered. I nodded, overwhelmed. All of it. For a moment, we just breathed together. That's what you felt when you tasted the blood? I asked. Yes, she said. And that's when I knew it wasn't just instinct. It was choice. I stepped back. Then we go to the tribunal. Together. They won't let me speak. Then we make them listen. An hour later, the tribunal chamber filled with soft light, circular tiers rising high above the floor. Ambassadors from over 40 species floating in zero-G thrones, sitting behind kinetic shields, watching with unreadable expressions. Velka stood at the center, confident in his polished robes. I submit that the human lieutenant used psychological manipulation through pheromonal exposure and premeditated emotional cues to induce a false bonding ritual with Psi-Na, daughter of the second circle, he announced. I stood in the defendant's ring, hands behind my back. The presiding Concord arbiter, a translucent being of shifting light, tilted its form toward me. Do you contest the charge? Yes, I said. Fully. Do you offer counter-evidence? I offer a witness. Gasps rippled through the gallery as Psi-Na stepped forward. Velka's mouth twisted. She is compromised. The arbiter pulsed a pale warning light. Silence. Psi-Na faced the chamber. Calm. Grounded. I acted on instinct, yes. But what followed was not compulsion. I returned to him. I chose him. And I initiated the memory link, fully aware of its consequences. Velka lunged forward. She is tainted by the human's mind, infected with war thought and sorrow memory. She turned, eyes glowing. And yet, what I found wasn't poison. It was strength. Honor. Pain, yes, but also mercy. He did not take anything from me. I gave. Velka hissed. You disgrace your lineage. She raised her chin. No. You do. The chamber went still. The arbiter turned its radiant gaze toward the evidence archive. Screens bloomed into light. Velka's edited footage, followed by the original backup's unaltered logs Jace had forwarded before his arrest. The metadata confirmed tampering. The false narrative shattered in silence. Velka Thuan, the arbiter said. You stand in violation of Concord Truth Treaty 7C. You are relieved of duty and held for trial. He was gone before he could protest, guards removing him in a blur of motion. The arbiter turned back to me. Lieutenant Ryker. No coercion found. Ritual determined to be mutual. Charges dismissed. I exhaled. Hard. Then the arbiter added, however, the bond you now share is of Jirani origin. You are not protected from its social consequence. Concord respects sovereignty. I looked at Psi-Na. She nodded. I understand. The arbiter flickered. What is your intent moving forward? I stepped beside her, heart steady. I intend to learn. To respect. To walk forward not as soldier or diplomat, but as someone willing to bridge the gap. Psi-Na's voice joined mine. And I intend to do the same. Later, we walked the arboretum paths again, no guards, no whispers. Just us. I can't go back, she said. You're not going back, I told her. You're moving forward. She smiled, small but real. They'll talk. Let them. We'll give them something worth talking about. A breeze from the air vents stirred the trees, and she reached out, not to heal, not to bond, but simply to hold my hand. This time, I didn't flinch. I held on. The wound that healed us. The cruiser felt different. People looked up when I passed, some with curiosity, others with disapproval. But no one whispered. No one turned away. Truth had weight. And after the tribunal, it hung in the air like a fresh current, unavoidable. I stepped onto the observation deck just as the stars began shifting out of hyperalignment. The view outside was serene, but I couldn't ignore the tension humming beneath the silence. Cyan stood by the glass, her reflection framed in drifting starlight. "You didn't have to wait," I said. "I wasn't waiting," she replied, not turning. "I was choosing." I stepped beside her. "Choosing what?" "To stay." That word hung between us. "You're sure?" Her eyes met mine, steady, clear. "I've been sure since I saw what was inside you. Since I felt it." I lowered my voice. "This isn't just about the bond anymore, is it?" "No," she said. "It never was." We stood shoulder to shoulder, eyes on the void. For once, it didn't feel empty. "They offered me reassignment," I said quietly. "Earth-based. Quiet. Safe. You going to take it?" I shook my head. "I didn't come out here to hide." She smiled faintly. "Neither did I." I turned toward her. "The Concord is assigning a new Jirani ambassador. They want someone who understands humans." She lifted a brow. "And I may have recommended someone." She blinked, then laughed a soft, melodic sound. "They accepted. They're considering it. After what happened at the tribunal, they'd be fools not to." A long pause. "You know this won't be easy," she said. "It's not supposed to be." Cyan stepped in front of me, eyes searching. "Then why do it?" I answered without thinking. "Because every wound tells a story, and ours ended in something worth remembering." She touched the spot on my arm where the scratch had been. Healed. Scarless. But something lingered underneath. Not pain. Not shame. Meaning. "I used to believe instincts were weaknesses," she whispered. "Now I see they're guides." I met her gaze. "Then let's follow them. Together." She nodded once. "Then come with me." The Concord Hall was quieter now. The excitement had passed. Delegates returned to their routines. Protocol had settled. But not for us. We stood before the Cultural Integration Board, neutral observers who tracked species adaptation. Cyan stood tall, her voice steady. "I request reassignment under Concord Special Cultural Exchange terms. As liaison to humanity." The board asked no questions. The answer came swift. Request granted. No celebration. No applause. Just quiet acknowledgement. It was more than enough. Later, we met again where it all began, Deck 7, beside the utility hatch. The panel had been fixed. No exposed metal. No frayed edge. Cyan ran a finger over the spot. "Strange how something so small can begin so much. Some wounds matter more than they seem," I said. She turned. "Do humans believe in signs?" "Some of us." "Then take this as one," she said, offering a small case. I opened it. Inside, a thin chain made of Jirani alloy, light but unbreakable. At its center, a shard of crystal etched with two names, mine and hers. "A gift," she said. "Symbol of shared truth." I lifted it, weighed its meaning, and placed it around my neck. "Thank you." She smiled. "Now everyone will know." Weeks passed. We worked side by side, officially and not. Diplomacy became more than peace talks. It became understanding. Some Jirani resisted. Some humans questioned. But every day, one more mind changed. One more doubt faded. We shared language, customs, ideas. We laughed more. Fought less. And beneath it all, a bond deeper than treaties formed. Late one night, on the Arboretum bench, Cyan leaned into my shoulder. "You're still thinking about Velka, aren't you?" I exhaled. "He'll stand trial. Justice takes time." "He wasn't just afraid of us," she murmured. "He was afraid of change." "Then let's keep changing things." She tilted her head. "You're relentless." "You're not the first to say that." She smiled against my sleeve. "Good. Because this isn't over." I looked down at her. "No. It's just starting." The next morning, I gave my first interspecies address. Not in front of admirals or ambassadors, but students. Young, eager, questioning minds from every species on the cruiser. They asked what happened between Cyan and me. I told them the truth. That bond was forged not in fire or war, but in a choice. A choice to see beyond biology, beyond fear, to trust, to feel. One hand shot up. A small Jirani child. Do you love her? I smiled. Yes. Cyane watched from the back of the room, expression unreadable, but her eyes said enough. That evening, we walked the ship's upper hull in exosuits, tethered together, staring out at the stars. They say light travels forever, she said. Even when its source dies. I believe it. She turned to me. Then let's become something that outlives us. I nodded. Let's give them a story worth remembering. We floated in silence, hands linked by magnetized gloves. Beneath us, the ship continued its course. Ahead of us, new stars waited. Behind us, the wound was healed. But the bond that remained.